Coming up on today's episode of Work It Out with Lauri, my favorite method to deal with bullies. Boo!
Boo indeed, but find out more on episode 14 of Work It Out with Lauri.
Howdy, WBP crew. Welcome to Work It Out with Lauri, the no-nonsense show for anyone navigating workplace bullying, chaos, or straight-up dysfunction. I'm Lauri Lilly, your host. I'm here to help you make sense of all the drama you're experiencing at work.
And I'm Cosmo Esplin, Sir Showrunner and your backstage guide, directly providing Lauri with your questions and workplace dilemmas so you get the practical solutions you need. So what do you say? Let's work it out. Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new episode of Work It Out with Lauri. We're on 14 already, as I mentioned in the coming up section. Can you believe that, Lauri?
We're rocking and rolling here.
Yeah,
we're not stopping anytime soon.
Yep. To reiterate before we get to the topic today, we are committed to dropping one episode on Monday for everyone and one on Thursday behind the Substack paywall. So again, be sure to sign up for Bully Proof Truth in Action on Substack for WBP Basics. But today, what are we going to be talking about, Lauri?
It's one of my favorite methods to deal with bullies, which is called Greyrocking.
All right, so we have a question here that has been submitted anonymously. So this person says, quote, "I'm just not sure how to handle or respond to my imposter leader who is bullying me and who makes nasty, untrue comments and insults to me that he just drops as though they are facts, and he does this on one-on-one calls, and he also does this in large meetings." So an unfortunate imposter leadership dynamic at play, I'm sure you would say, but what else do you have to help this person?
Well, I love the fact that this person is using the language and the term that I created. Anytime I see imposter leader, I know that they're listening to my content, they're consuming my content. So it's all rolled up into imposter leadership. This person's imposter leader is bullying them, very common. Probably the most common of all the types of bullying dynamics that exist. This exact scenario is so challenging. Anyone who is listening probably knows exactly what that looks like. It's a drive-by piece of criticism. It's usually in situations where it's nearly impossible to respond. And more importantly, the person on the receiving end of these hurtful, they're painful and they're nasty and usually lies, these comments, the nervous system is activated. And a lot of people don't talk about this. If you scoot around on the internet, on YouTube, there's all kinds of people who talk about communication and standing up for yourself and et cetera, et cetera. All of those people have fantastic advice, but many of them are not considering the person who's being bullied and whose nervous system has been impacted and is activated. And when you're in a situation where your nervous system kicks in, your face is getting flushed, you feel like you want to run away, your heart starts racing, can't catch your breath, it's very overwhelming. The idea of having this ready to go comment to flip right back at this person, get real, get lost. It doesn't exist. That's why I often tell my clients, or I do tell my clients, you have to be prepared for these types of situations. It's not always going to be possible to respond in the moment, and it's not always possible to respond at all. It's very hard to have discussions with bullies because they've trained for this. I've talked about this for a long time. They have learned these manipulation skills over the entirety of their life, where they know how to manipulate and twist and crazy make, and all of the skills that they use to make people feel crazy and to tear people down without the receiving person being able to respond in a way that doesn't turn into some really nasty situation where they're being told they're the bully.
So the situation is almost rigged from the start.
It is. This is the catch-22 with the bully. There's a couple of different ways that you can approach this. The number one method that is very, very popular, and many people may have heard it before, it's called the Greyrock method. Greyrocking is exactly what it sounds like. You're going to be as interesting as a gray rock. What does that mean in practice when it's happening in real time? Remember, bullies are looking for your reaction. They're feeding off of you. Many people have heard this phrase, narcissistic supply. You are supply to the bully. They are seeking your reaction because it feeds them. Oh my gosh, they love nothing more than getting you riled up. Oh my gosh, it's making their day. It's like a battery for them. Their battery goes down. Okay, time to kick in an insult. Time to go in for a nasty drive-by piece of criticism. Your reaction then, it's like on the battery, right? You can see it in real time. It's really gross.
And they have an advantage because when they're doing this, they're usually calm, cool, and collected, and it's just very flippant the way that they go about it. And so they elicit that emotion out of you to continue as like fuel to the flame.
They're so arrogant, and the way they do it, it's infuriating. So I have experienced this too many times to count, and I found the Greyrock method to be highly effective. And that means you're going to be completely unemotional, no facial expression. You're a gray rock. You're uninteresting. Any responses you do give are very short. Okay, sure, I understand.
Gotcha.
You're not going to ask any questions. You are not going to react. And a reaction is where you kick in, right? There's that reaction where you kick in and you get emotional. It's really hard because they're telling you lies, okay? Not every situation will allow you to respond to these lies. So this is just one method, this Greyrocking, and it will drive a bully crazy. An abuser who comes across Greyrocking, ooh, does it irritate them because you're not giving them what they need. Their ego battery, it's blinking. They're on a red alert status, and they're hoping by that drive-by comment, they're looking for that quick fix to 100%, and you're not giving it to them, and it's very, very frustrating, right?
Because in order to continue bullying, you need to have some incentive, and the incentive is to, like I said, elicit emotion out of the individual.
Beyond the Greyrocking in your voice and your response, also keep your facial expressions very bland. Don't sneer. Don't, look shocked. Just be a gray rock.
Very stoic.
Very stoic. Use this at your discretion. It's not going to work in every situation. It won't. But as you get used to using it, it's challenging at first if you haven't used this method before, because there's going to be a very uncomfortable silence that ensues that just sits there. And that's where it's effective. Let the silence reign supreme.
Feed on the awkwardness.
Yes. So that's one method. And you're going to find when it's appropriate and you're going to find when it's not. Now, there are people who are like, under no circumstances am I going to let this go by at any time. And I understand that, but I also want to be clear that there are always going to be a risk when you stand up to the bully, that they are going to then double down and there could be further harm. That said, I will always provide tools. I believe in letting every person understand the risks associated with standing up to a bully. It can really be painful. But for anyone who feels like they must respond, and again, you notice that I'm using the word respond and not react. We are not reacting. Reacting is emotional. Reacting is when you're going to respond or react with the same tone of voice and probably come back with some sort of an insult. We're not doing that. If you want to respond to one of these drive-bys, you can do so. And here's where we're going to let our nervous system actually work in our favor. You're probably going to need to catch your breath. If you get activated, you are out of breath, and your brain is probably rushing around trying to find an answer, trying to find what the heck do I say here? Use that to your advantage. If you decide to respond in this moment, it's okay to take the breath. In fact, let them hear you take the breath in and blow it out. Let it sit there, because that's a sign that you are about to respond. Buckle up, bully. And that's the point where you can say something to the effect of, did you intend for ... I like the phrasing, did you intend? Because it places them in a position where they're forced to respond to you. Did you intend to make me feel bad about X, Y, and Z. Did you intend to insult me with that comment, Cosmo? Right? Did you intend to? Did you intend? That's just one phrase.
I personally did not intend to do any of those things, Lauri.
Thank you. But that phrase can be effective. It's okay to let your breath work in your favor. It's going to give you a second to compose yourself, to figure out exactly what you want to say. And it's effective because they're hearing you breathe. In other words, they're hearing some frustration. And that's okay if they hear a little bit of it. But the real kicker is when you respond in a way where they're forced to answer to their nastiness. Those are a couple of ideas. Now, there's some people who are like, oh, heck no. There's no way I can respond in that moment. But I do feel I need to respond at some point. That's fair. Next time you're in a one-to-one, you're simply going to say, hey, Cosmo, I wanted to follow up on a comment that you made in passing yesterday. And I just was wondering, did you intend? And you can do the same thing. I suggest before you go into a meeting like this, you do some breathing exercises to calm your nervous system because it's going to kick up, right? And use your breath to your advantage. It's okay. The help for your nervous system is going to come eventually when you're out of this particular dynamic. We can put Band-Aids on it through breathing exercises. But when it kicks up, if you're ready to respond right then, use it to your advantage with the breathing, the pause, and then go for the question. Now, what about these public, overt, nasty drive-bys in meetings? This is particularly challenging because you can stand up for yourself. Again, the bully is very, very careful to only make comments that relate to situations just between you and them. So if you make a comment, and they're so sneaky that these comments are very benign to probably a listener, but to you, the target, ooh, it's like a knife to the heart, right? It hits hard because they're telling a lie. So if you try to stand up for yourself in the moment, particularly if you have a lot of leaders above you in the hierarchy, this could be used against you, right? By
You
a bully.
could come off as pushy, or
Yeah.
you can't take a joke, or
Yes,
something like that, right?
Yes, or very difficult, or you're sidelining the call, you're making it about you, you're creating drama. You see how this is how bullies are very sneaky. So you have to be very careful in this particular instance. But what I submit to you that is effective is everything goes in writing. Follow up in an email. Hello, I want to follow up after our meeting. You said X, Y, and Z. I want to get on the same page, blah, blah, blah. Get it in writing. Everything with a bully goes in writing. Everything. I don't care if it's a 2-minute conversation outside of a meeting room, after a meeting, in the meeting. It goes in an email back to the bully confirming exactly what they said. You need receipts. And these receipts seem silly sometimes, like am I really doing this? Yeah, you are, because they will use anything and everything against you. And sometimes it's going to be very challenging to actually get on the same page. They're PhD level students in manipulation. They're actually professors of it. We have not trained people who are targets. We do not have this level of expertise in manipulation. So what do? All we can do in some situations is document it, send it to this bully and anyone else who's appropriate, get it on paper, and let them come back and challenge it. But then at least you've got it in writing.
So, in closing, Greyrocking is probably the best thing to deal with this. Are there really any other techniques that come close to matching this method, Lauri?
Greyrocking is the most effective that will negatively impact the bully because you're holding off, you're blocking that reaction. I have used this method too many times to count. I've listened to client interactions with bullies who use Greyrocking, and when it's done really well, it will make you feel very uncomfortable. It is amazing to see it in action, and let the bully squirm. Let them squirm. That's when you know you're doing it right. But use it at your discretion.
All right, as you should everything, right?
That's right.
Thank you for explaining Greyrocking to everyone today, including me, who had no idea what the term was until we did this show.
That's right. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and thanks, Cosmo, for helping with the discussion. And for anyone listening, the best way that you can support my work, Cosmo's work with WBP, is to subscribe to either YouTube, Substack, or Spotify.
Or all three.
And I'm on LinkedIn. Like our posts and share them with friends, family, and loved ones who may need support if they're in an abusive dynamic or in an abusive workplace.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.
See you next time. Thanks so much for tuning in to Work It Out with Lauri. If today's episode hit home at all, please share it with someone who needs it. And please remember, you deserve to work in peace. Oh, and hey, if you're listening and you're currently a target of a workplace bully and you need help, please feel free to schedule an initial consult with me. It's completely free and completely confidential. I've got your back.
And remember to follow this podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Substack. Plus, send us your story or your question at workplacebullyingproject.com.
We'll see you next time, and we'll work it out together.